Hi, how are ya?
It's too late for this. Hey guys, so it's been a long one, but we are gonna be talking about dirt today.
What I do when a chick breaks off.
Okay, we're back. So today we are talking about dirt. Gotta love some good old dirt, right? Specifically though, we're gonna be talking about the 3 different kinds of dirt types and how they comprise different kinds of soil within the state, within gardening, within a lot of different aspects, and how that really kind of affects everything. Because obviously, everything comes from the ground. So really just starting out, like what really is dirt? There's not an exact definition for dirt, but dirt is, we can assume, is the matter that covers the entire surface of the earth. Just realized I have that hideous cup in the back. Speaking of earth.
That's tea, actually.
Right. Pinon resin. Now everything's clean. Anyways though, so we have 3 different kinds of dirt. What's the difference between all these 3 different kind of dirt types? So the main difference between all of them is like soil aeration and what they're actually composed of. So we're gonna start with clay. Clay is the least aerated dirt type. The particles are very small, so there's not much room for air, so it compacts really well. So that's why people make pottery and plates and dishes and all that stuff out of it. We use it to store water. So obviously things aren't going to grow very good in clay because it has no access to oxygenation and picking up nutrients that are really compressed inside the dirt. So that's another thing too, is a lot of plants, like most people don't really consider that plants like actually need oxygen. So they not only do they take up nutrients and water from their roots, but they take oxygen up so they can actually rot if they don't have enough airflow through there. So that's why clay is kind of a harder medium to grow in. But like I said, some native plants here love clay because it's what we have here and what they're adapted to. Overall, it has not very much aeration in it. It compacts really easy and it holds water really well. So that's an important thing to keep in mind for later. Next up, we're going to move on to sand. So sand is a little bit interesting actually. It's not really composed up of like dirt per se, but it's going to be more of really small pieces of minerals and rocks that make up like that sand texture that we know. So definitely with sand is it has a lot more airiness to it, but it doesn't really hold water all too great. And that's, like I said, that's another problem with certain kinds of plants is most of the plants in general do not like to live in one specific kind of medium or soil type. They like to live in a mixture, and that's what we'll go over to with the different kinds of mixtures and all that. But for sure though with sand, it has a lot of air in it, doesn't really have any nutritional value to the plants. They can't really take up very much nutrients from it. And it's very, like I said, it's very hard for the plants to take up much of anything from it because it doesn't really hold water well, doesn't hold nutrients well, but it's very good for aeration. So that's why it's a really important mixture in soil mixtures and composures of compositions of soils, because it provides that aeration that every plant needs to get oxygen. Okay. Last time we're going to be talking about is silt. And silt is kind of the middleman between the 3 different kinds of main dirt types. Silt is going to be composed of more of decayed organic matters like leaf molds or wood chips that have been broken down, or anything that's been broken down. It really has smaller particles. The particles aren't as small as per se clay, so it holds water well. It has actually pretty great aeration, and it has a lot of nutritional value to the dirt because of all of the nutrients that is in the dirt. So definitely silt's important, but too much silt either can shock a plant, or like I said, it can hold too much water, or it dries out really easy and it gets dehydrated. So that's why, like I said, they're not really good to keep separate. That's why everything gets mixed together. So for the most part though, with growing any sort of plants, loamy soil is going to be the best. So loam usually consists of all three. We can take our little handy dandy triangle. But if we look at this though, for sure, is like loam's gonna be right here in the middle. So it's kind of the perfect mixture of everything. And that's what a lot of plants love to grow, and especially outdoor plants or vegetable plants or anything like that. Really like to grow in loam. Then once again, we kind of have things that are a little bit out of balance. So we have like the silty clay or the sandy clay loam. So those are things that have a little bit more composition of one thing or another. But for the most part, like a medium loam is the perfect thing to grow anything in because it has just the right amount of aeration, just the right amount of water retention, and just the right amount of give to it that really the plants can pick up everything they need from. So most basic potting mixes, and look at this one, just a little dead looking right now, but it's dormant. But so most soil mixes are actually going to be comprised of a little bit of everything. So, and depending on the different kind of plant, they all have different needs. So if we look at this one has a lot. I literally think this was a good idea. Like, you can't even see it and it's all over the bed. So I'm currently like laying all in this dirt of loam. They spill it everywhere. Oh, excuse me. But why is all this important to environmental science? Because it's like, come on, it's just dirt. I mean, everything, like I said, everything comes from it, but why should we care about dirt? The biggest main thing about dirt right now is, if you think about it, all the food that comes from the supermarket has to be grown somewhere, right? And most of the time it's either coming from California or anywhere on the West Coast, for us in Arizona, obviously, because it's where our food's gonna be coming from, or it's coming from here. But the biggest thing right now is monoculture farming. And if you don't know what monoculture farming is, it is when crops are planted in the same place over and over and over again. So they're never rotating the crops, or there's no diversity. There's no diversity of plants or organisms or anything like that. And that's really a negative thing, because what ends up happening is the dirt, which usually starts out as loam once they till it, it gets really compact because all the nutrients gets washed out with every single time they keep planting all these plants. And that's why biodiversity is really important in any sort of garden or plants or just anywhere in general. Biodiversity in soil and soil culture is one of the biggest things I stress all the time. Is why I think monoculture is so bad, because it just depletes the soil of all the nutrients and it washes away all the loam, and you're sometimes just left with the sand and clay. And it just, once that sand and clay dries out in the sun, like I said, California is the place to grow all these plants, and once that dries out, it becomes dehydrated and it becomes hydrophobic. And I'll put a video in somewhere around here of some hydrophobic hydrophobic soil. But it's definitely not pretty, and it's really, once that happens to your dirt, you have to reconvert the entire soil culture again. So that's why I really stress back to eating gardening.
Oh my god, it's not funny.
I was saying literally right before my phone decided to die, but that's why I definitely believe more in polyculture or permaculture rather than monoculture, because it promotes the biodiversity in the dirt and the soil, which keeps the soil alive and hydrated and prevents drought and erosion and a lot of other things, as well as just having the beneficence of having nutritious soil. But overall though, that's pretty much all I have for the 3 different soil types, and it really goes to show that a well-balanced soil really is what the earth needs at this point.